Chapter 1: Apex Predators of the Dune Sea. Tatooine is a world defined by extremes. Its twin suns, Tatu Aha and Tatu 2, bake the surface in a continuous flood of heat and radiation, turning the landscape into an endless expanse of shifting sand and cracked rock. To an outside observer looking down from orbit, this desert planet seems entirely dead, a barren void devoid of life and ecological complexity. Yet, beneath this burning surface lies one of the most resilient and fascinating ecosystems in the known galaxy. Life on Tatooine has not merely survived, it has adapted, evolved, and structured itself into a highly efficient food chain. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the largest beast, plays a critical role in maintaining the delicate balance of the Dune Sea. To understand this hostile environment, we must examine the complex relationship between the planet's scarce resources, its massive herbivores, and the ancient giants that hunt them. At the foundation of this desert food chain are the large herbivores that manage to find sustenance in a world with almost no visible liquid water. The most famous of these is the bantha. These massive quadrupedal mammals are covered in thick, shaggy coats of brown hair. To a newcomer, such dense fur seems like an evolutionary mistake for a desert creature. However, xenobiologists have discovered that this coat serves as a highly efficient thermal barrier. It traps a layer of cool air close to the animal's skin, while reflecting the intense heat of the twin suns outward. Banthas survive by consuming desert grasses, tough shrubs, and moisture-rich cacti that grow in the rocky canyons. Their survival is made possible by a complex, multi-chambered stomach that can break down the toughest plant fibers and extract every drop of moisture. By traveling in tight herds, banthas protect themselves from smaller predators, but their sheer size and predictable migration paths make them the primary targets for the true masters of the desert. Alongside the banthas are the dewbacks, large reptilian beasts of burden that are perfectly adapted to the dry climate. Unlike the warm-blooded banthas, dewbacks are cold-blooded ectotherms. They spend the chilly desert nights in a state of semi-torpor, conserving their energy until the morning suns rise to warm their scaly bodies. Their thick, leathery hide prevents water loss, and their wide, flat teeth are ideal for scraping tough moss and lichen off the canyon walls. These large herbivores act as ecological engineers. As they graze, they disperse seeds across the desert and break up the hard crust of the soil, allowing rare desert plants to take root. Without these hardy plant-eaters, the energy from Tatooine's sparse vegetation could never be transferred up the food chain to support the planet's carnivores. For a carnivore to survive in the Dune Sea, it must possess extraordinary physical adaptations. The scarcity of prey means that active hunting requires a massive expenditure of energy, which can be fatal if a hunt fails. This has led to two distinct evolutionary paths among Tatooine's apex predators. On one hand, there are ambush predators like the sarlacc, which bury themselves in deep pits and wait for decades for unlucky travelers to fall into their mouths. On the other hand, there are the active, dominant hunters that roam the sands and rock formations. Among these, none are more feared or ecologically significant than the Krayt dragon. This legendary reptilian species represents the absolute pinnacle of desert adaptation, possessing physical traits that allow it to dominate both the solid rock canyons and the fluid dunes of the deep desert. Xenobiologists classify Krayt dragons into two distinct subspecies, the canyon krait and the greater krait. The canyon krait is the smaller and more common of the two, though small is a highly relative term. Growing up to 45 meters in length, the canyon krait is a powerful quadrupedal predator that makes its home in the rocky crevices and high caves of Tatooine's mountain ranges. It hunts womp rats, banthas, and jawas, using its sharp claws to scale steep cliffs with surprising agility. However, as formidable as the canyon krait is, it is dwarfed by its massive relative, the greater Krayt dragon. The greater krait is an evolutionary marvel, a colossal titan that can grow to over 100 meters in length. Unlike its canyon-dwelling cousin, the greater krait has adapted specifically to the vast, open sands of the Dune Sea, occupying an ecological niche that seems almost impossible for a creature of its size. The most striking physical adaptation of the greater Krayt dragon is its ability to move through the sand as if it were water. To achieve this, the creature's anatomy has evolved in a highly specialized direction. It possesses a long, streamlined body and 10 powerful, relatively short limbs equipped with wide shovel-like claws, Rather than walking on top of the loose desert sand, which would cause a creature of its immense weight to sink and become trapped, the greater Krayt submerges itself completely. By undulating its massive body and using its 10 legs to paddle, it literally swims through the shifting dunes. This underground locomotion allows the dragon to travel vast distances while remaining completely hidden from the scorching heat of the twin suns and the eyes of its prey. It can glide silently beneath a herd of banthas, detecting their position solely through the vibrations they make on the surface. Because the greater Krayt spends so much of its life submerged in darkness beneath the sand, its sensory organs have adapted in unique ways. Its eyesight is relatively poor, and it has difficulty processing detailed visual information, often mistaking the shadows of rocks or vehicles for living prey. To compensate for this, the dragon relies on a highly developed sense of touch and hearing. Specialized acoustic receptors in its lower jaw and along its sides can detect the slightest vibrations traveling through the sand. A walking bantha, a moving land speeder, or even the footsteps of a lone traveler can be felt by a submerged dragon from kilometers away. Once a target is located, the dragon swims upward, erupting from the sand in a terrifying display of raw power to swallow its victim whole. Feeding a body that weighs tens of thousands of kilograms requires an incredibly efficient digestive system. The greater Krayt dragon's internal biology is designed to extract nutrients from almost anything it consumes. When the dragon swallows its prey, its stomach secretes an extremely potent acid known as Krayt venom. This biological fluid is so corrosive that it can dissolve organic tissue, bone, and even the heavy metal plating of speeders or sandcrawlers. If the dragon feels threatened or needs to disable a particularly large target, it can project this venom from its mouth, spraying a stream of burning acid over its enemies. This digestive acid ensures that nothing goes to waste, allowing the dragon to survive on relatively few meals by completely breaking down every part of its prey. This powerful digestive process is also responsible for one of the galaxy's most sought-after treasures, the Krayt dragon pearl. Like many reptiles and birds, the Krayt dragon swallows stones known as gastroliths to help grind up tough food in its stomach. Over many decades, these stones are subjected to the intense pressure of the dragon's muscular stomach walls and the constant bathing of corrosive digestive acids. Rather than being destroyed, the stones are slowly worn down, smoothed and polished into perfect glowing spheres. These pearls absorb the unique chemical compounds of the dragon's stomach, giving them a brilliant, iridescent luster that makes them incredibly valuable on the galactic market. For Jedi and Sith, these rare pearls are highly prized as focus crystals for lightsabers, capable of producing a uniquely powerful and stable plasma blade. The presence of the greater Krayt dragon has profoundly shaped the cultures of Tatooine's humanoid inhabitants, particularly the Tusken Raiders. To the Sand People, the Krayt dragon is not just a predator, but a sacred demon, a living embodiment of the desert's harsh spirit. The Tuskens have studied the dragon's behavior for generations, learning to avoid its hunting grounds and respect its power. Slaying a Krayt dragon is considered the ultimate test of courage and strength for a young Tusken warrior. To accomplish this monumental task, hunters must work together, using heavy ballistas, explosives, and their intimate knowledge of the beast's weaknesses to bring it down. Even the call of the Krayt dragon is a force of nature. The terrifying high-pitched shriek of the beast is so feared that native creatures and Tuskens alike will flee at the mere sound of it, a biological reality that clever travelers have sometimes used to their advantage. Despite its terrifying nature, the greater Krayt dragon is the anchor that holds Tatooine's fragile ecosystem together. As the ultimate apex predator, it controls the populations of the planet's large herbivores. Without the Krayt dragon to limit their numbers, herds of banthas and dewbacks would multiply unchecked. They would quickly overgraze the sparse desert vegetation, stripping the canyons of plant life and causing a complete collapse of the food web. When a dragon eventually dies of old age, its massive skeleton becomes a resource in itself, providing shelter for smaller desert creatures and building materials for the Jaws and Tuskens. In the unforgiving sands of the Dune Sea, the Krayt dragon stands as a testament to the power of evolutionary adaptation. It is a reminder that even in the most hostile corners of the galaxy, life will always find a way to carve out a magnificent, balanced existence. Chapter 2. Leviathans of the Naboo Abyss. Beneath the peaceful, rolling hills and elegant stone cities of Naboo lies one of the most unique and terrifying ecosystems in the known galaxy. Unlike most terrestrial worlds with a solid, molten core, Naboo is a planet of endless water, honeycombed by a vast network of subterranean tunnels and porous rocky passages. This watery abyss connects the great surface lakes and deep oceans directly to the planet's hollow interior. Within this pitch-black, high-pressure labyrinth, evolution has taken a dark and monstrous turn. In these uncharted depths, light is a rare luxury, and survival is a constant battle decided by size, speed, and sheer physical power. To understand the natural balance of Naboo, we must descend past the sunlit upper waters and enter the crushing darkness of the planet's core, where three distinct apex predators rule the food chain. Our journey into the abyss begins with a creature that perfectly demonstrates the bizarre evolutionary paths of Naboo's aquatic life. The OP sea killer is a master of ambush and a terrifying hybrid of different animal groups. Measuring up to 20 meters in length, this predator is part crustacean and part armored fish. Its reddish-orange body is covered in thick, overlapping plates of natural armor that protect it from the crushing pressures of the deep, as well as the teeth of smaller rivals. The OP has developed a highly specialized method of movement that makes it incredibly efficient in the water. Instead of relying solely on fins for swimming, it uses a form of natural jet propulsion. The creature sucks water in through its massive mouth and expels it at high speed through small, specialized vents located at the rear of its body. This allows the heavy armored beast to launch itself forward in sudden, explosive bursts of speed, catching unsuspecting prey off guard. When it is not actively chasing prey, the OP sea killer is a patient hunter. It uses its natural camouflage to blend seamlessly with the rocky crags and cave walls of the deep trenches, remaining completely motionless for hours. To lure its food, the OP possesses two long, bioluminescent antennae that glow softly in the dark. Smaller fish and curious creatures are drawn to this light, completely unaware of the massive mouth waiting just behind it. Once the prey is close enough, the OP deploys its most shocking weapon, a long, sticky, prehensile tongue. This tongue shoots out like a whip, instantly grabbing the target and dragging it back into a double row of razor-sharp teeth. Interestingly, the reproductive cycle of the OP sea killer reveals a surprisingly protective side to this otherwise ruthless monster. After mating, the female lays her eggs, but it is the male who takes on the responsibility of keeping them safe. The male OP carries the eggs inside his massive mouth for about 3 months. During this long gestation period, the father cannot eat anything at all, surviving entirely on his own stored fat reserves. He will guard the eggs fiercely until they hatch, at which point the young are released into the shallower rivers and lakes to grow. While the OP sea killer is a dominant force in the upper layers of the abyss, it is often forced to share its territory with an even longer, more agile predator. This is the Kolo clawfish, a creature that represents the second largest predatory species on the planet. The Kolo is a marvel of aquatic design, built for stealth, speed, and absolute consumption. The body of the Kolo clawfish is long, thin, and remarkably flat, resembling an enormous eel-like serpent. Its skin is dark, allowing it to disappear into the shadows of the underwater caves where it prefers to sleep and nest. Along both sides of its long body, the Kolo features rows of glowing bioluminescent spots. These lights serve a dual purpose. They help the creature communicate with others of its kind in the dark, and they confuse prey, making the Kolo appear smaller or further away than it actually is. The head of the Kolo is its most frightening feature. It sports a massive, crocodile-like snout filled with venomous fangs that can instantly paralyze a target. On top of its head are eyes set on short stalks, giving the predator an excellent field of vision even in tight, rocky tunnels. 2 large, claw-like appendages grow near its mouth, which the Kolo uses to grab onto rocky walls, steer itself through narrow passages, or capture struggling prey. One of the most remarkable biological adaptations of the Kolo clawfish is its jaw structure. Much like the giant serpents of other worlds, the Kolo can unhinge its jaws completely. This allows it to swallow prey that is far larger than its own head. Its stomach is incredibly elastic, stretching to accommodate massive meals. Because of this, the Kolo is an indiscriminate feeder, swallowing almost anything it can catch. However, this greedy feeding habit can sometimes be the creature's undoing. The Kolo has a habit of swallowing young OP sea killers whole. Because the OP is protected by a tough, armored shell, it does not always die immediately upon being swallowed. There are numerous recorded instances where swallowed OPs have used their sharp claws and teeth to chew their way out of the Kolo's stomach, killing the larger predator from the inside. To prevent this from happening, the Kolo often relies on its acoustic weapons. It can produce an incredibly loud, high-frequency hydrosonic screech. This sound wave travels through the water with immense force, instantly stunning and disorienting fish and other targets. Once the prey is paralyzed by the sound, the Kolo moves in to deliver a venomous bite, ensuring the meal is completely subdued before it is swallowed. Despite the terrifying power of the OP and the Kolo, neither of them sits at the absolute top of the Naboo food chain. That title belongs to a creature of mythic proportions, a beast so massive that its existence was once doubted by surface dwellers. This is the legendary Sando Aqua monster. The Sando is the undisputed ruler of the Naboo depths. These creatures are truly titanic, with fully grown adults measuring anywhere from 160 to over 200 meters in length. Unlike the fish and crustaceans that share the abyss, the Sando Aqua monster actually possesses physical traits that suggest it evolved from land-based ancestors. It has a heavily muscled, feline-like body with 4 powerful limbs. Its feet are wide and webbed, ending in massive claws that help it swim through the water with surprising grace and power. The front limbs of the Sando are particularly fascinating. They end in large, hand-like claws that can grasp and hold onto objects. This allows the creature to grab massive prey, pull itself along the ocean floor, or even attack land animals that wander too close to deep swamp lakes. The Sando also has a long, muscular tail with a large fin at the end, which provides the primary thrust needed to propel its 50,000-ton body through the water. To sustain such an enormous mass, the Sando Aqua monster must consume vast quantities of food daily. It will swim through the deep trenches with its mouth open, swallowing entire schools of smaller fish in a single pass. However, its favorite prey consists of the other large predators of the abyss. The Sando is the only creature on Naboo with jaws strong enough to bite cleanly through the armored shell of an adult OP sea killer. When a Sando hunts, the smaller monsters of the deep have no choice but to flee. Because of their immense size and the slow nature of their life cycle, the population of Sando Aqua monsters is incredibly small. They are exceptionally rare, and their lifespans can span several centuries. They spend most of their lives in the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the planet's core, far away from the cities of the Gungans and the Naboo. Because they are so rarely seen, the Gungans have developed a deep, almost spiritual respect for these Leviathans, viewing them as forces of nature rather than simple beasts. When we look at the watery depths of Naboo, we see an ecosystem of extreme competition. The OP sea killer uses armor and ambush to dominate the rocky tunnels. The Kolo clawfish uses speed, venom, and sound to hunt in the dark. Yet both of these fearsome predators are ultimately just links in a chain that leads directly to the Sando Aqua monster. It is a harsh, unforgiving world beneath the peaceful surface of the planet, where the ancient rules of nature still apply. In the deep, silent waters of the Naboo abyss, there is indeed always a bigger fish. Chapter 3. Survival in the Sub-Zero, the Beasts of Hoth. In the remote outer reaches of the galaxy lies Hoth, a world of relentless frost, blinding blizzards, and vast, empty ice plains. To most space travelers, it appears to be a dead planet, a barren wasteland of glaciers and deep snow where nothing could possibly survive. The surface temperatures regularly drop to -60 degrees Celsius, and the howling winds can freeze unprotected flesh in a matter of minutes. Yet, even in this extreme sub-zero environment, life has found a way to not only exist but to thrive. Through millions of years of evolutionary pressure, the native creatures of Hoth have developed some of the most specialized biological adaptations in the known galaxy. To understand how life persists in such a hostile place, we must examine the delicate balance between the planet's primary herbivore, the resilient tauntaun, and its ultimate alpha predator, the fearsome Wampa. The tauntaun is perhaps the most famous resident of Hoth, known across the galaxy for its role as a sturdy mount. From a zoological perspective, the tauntaun is classified as a reptomammal, a fascinating biological hybrid that combines the structural traits of reptiles with the warm-blooded efficiency of mammals. This unique classification is the foundation of their survival. Their bodies are covered in a dense combination of scales and shaggy grey fur. The scales offer a tough, wind-resistant outer shield, while the thick undercoat of fur traps a layer of warm air close to the skin. Directly beneath this hide lies a heavy layer of insulating blubber that protects their vital organs from the biting cold. One of the most remarkable evolutionary adaptations of the tauntaun is its respiratory system. A close look at a tauntaun's snout reveals not one, but two pairs of nostrils. This dual nostril system is a masterpiece of natural engineering. The larger, upper pair of nostrils is used primarily during intense physical exertion. When a tauntaun is running at high speeds across the tundra, these large passages open wide to draw in massive amounts of oxygen directly into the bloodstream. However, breathing in such freezing air can quickly lower an animal's core body temperature. To prevent this, the nasal passages are lined with complex heat-exchanging blood vessels that warm the freezing air before it ever reaches the lungs. When the tauntaun is resting, grazing, or sleeping, the larger nostrils seal completely shut to keep out blowing snow and prevent precious heat from escaping. During these quiet periods, the smaller, lower pair of nostrils takes over. This smaller set is highly efficient at warming the air slowly and conserving moisture, allowing the animal to breathe safely even during the most severe nighttime blizzards. The internal chemistry of the tauntaun is equally sophisticated. Their blood contains a unique mixture of natural glycoproteins and organic compounds that act as a biological antifreeze. This specialized blood chemistry prevents their circulatory system from freezing, even when their external body temperature drops dangerously low. Even their digestive process has adapted to the extreme cold, albeit in a way that many find highly unpleasant. Because water is incredibly scarce in its liquid form on Hoth, the tauntaun cannot afford to waste moisture through traditional waste elimination. Instead, their highly efficient digestive system processes solid waste and excretes the remaining oils and chemical byproducts directly through specialized pores in their skin. This oil coats their fur, adding an extra layer of waterproofing against the melting snow. However, this process also produces a notoriously foul, pungent odor that makes the tauntaun easily recognizable to anyone downwind. Interestingly, when the tauntaun sleeps, this excretion process temporarily shuts down. This is a vital survival tactic, as releasing such a strong scent while motionless would easily alert predators to their location. To sustain their bulky frames, tauntauns must constantly forage. They feed primarily on the sparse lichen, moss and frost-resistant algae that grow in the shelter of ice caves and rock crevices. Their feet are wide and tridactyl, meaning they have 3 splayed toes that act like natural snowshoes, allowing them to walk easily over deep snowdrifts without sinking. These toes are tipped with sharp, sturdy claws, designed to scrape away thick layers of ice to reach the buried vegetation beneath. Tauntauns are highly social creatures that travel in matriarchal herds of 20 to 30 individuals. This social structure is essential for their survival. During the brutal Hoth nights, when temperatures plunge to their absolute lowest, even the tauntaun's impressive biological defenses are pushed to their limits. To survive, the herd will seek shelter inside deep ice caverns, huddling tightly together to share their collective body heat. If they are caught in the open during a sudden storm, they will burrow into the snow together, using the snowpack itself as an insulating blanket. While the tauntaun represents the pinnacle of herbivorous survival, it is constantly hunted by a creature that has adapted to become the ultimate apex predator of this frozen world, the Wampa. The Wampa is a massive, semi-sentient bipedal carnivore that reigns at the very top of the Hoth food chain. Standing up to 3 meters tall and weighing over 150 kilograms, these muscular giants are perfectly designed to hunt in the snow. The most obvious adaptation of the Wampa is its thick, shaggy coat of pure white fur. This fur serves a dual purpose. First, it provides incredible insulation against the sub-zero temperatures, trapping heat so effectively that the Wampa can remain perfectly warm even when sitting completely still in a snowbank for hours. Second, the pure white coloration offers near-perfect camouflage against the endless snowfields of Hoth. A Wampa crouching in the snow is virtually invisible to the naked eye, allowing it to stalk its prey with terrifying stealth. Unlike the herd-dwelling tauntauns, Wampas are generally solitary hunters, though they do maintain loose family groups and patriarchal clans within their cave networks. When hunting, a Wampa relies heavily on ambush tactics, Because they are heavy and somewhat slow when moving across open terrain, they cannot easily outrun a healthy, panicked tauntaun over a long distance. Instead, they use the howling winds and blinding snowstorms to mask their approach, slowly creeping up on a grazing herd. When the Wampa is close enough, it strikes with explosive power. A single blow from a Wampa's massive muscular arm is often enough to instantly stun or disable its prey. Their long arms are tipped with razor-sharp, curved claws that can easily tear through the tough, scaly hide of a tauntaun. Once the prey is incapacitated, the Wampa does not usually consume it on the spot. Because food is scarce on Hoth and a single carcass must last a long time, the Wampa has developed a highly unusual method of food preservation. The Wampa will drag its stunned prey back to its dark, subterranean ice cave. Using the natural moisture of the cave and the freezing temperatures, the Wampa will press the prey's feet or lower limbs into the wet ice of the cave ceiling. Within minutes, the moisture freezes solid, fusing the prey to the ceiling and suspending it upside down. This keeping method serves two purposes. It keeps the prey alive and fresh for as long as possible, and it keeps the food out of reach of smaller scavenging creatures that might wander into the cave. The Wampa can then feed on the carcass gradually, piece by piece, as needed. The biology of the Wampa also reveals some highly specialized internal adaptations. Much like the tauntaun, the Wampa possesses a unique, low-circulation circulatory system in its outer limbs. Because of this, even a severe wound, such as the loss of an arm, results in almost no blood loss. The blood vessels in their extremities can rapidly constrict to prevent bleeding and preserve core body heat, a crucial defense mechanism that prevents the creature from quickly freezing to death after sustaining injuries in battle. However, the Wampa is not without its vulnerabilities. Because they spend so much of their lives in the quiet, muffled silence of ice caves and snowfields, their hearing is incredibly sensitive. They are particularly vulnerable to high-pitched mechanical noises, which can easily disorient, irritate, or even drive them into a blind, aggressive frenzy. In the natural order, however, such artificial sounds are non-existent, leaving the Wampa as the undisputed master of its domain. The relationship between the tauntaun and the Wampa is a classic example of evolutionary balance. Every physical trait of the tauntaun, from its dual nostrils to its acute senses, is designed to help it detect and flee from danger. Conversely, every trait of the Wampa, from its silent white fur to its powerful ambush tactics, is designed to bypass those very defenses. Together, these two species define the fragile, frozen ecosystem of Hoth, proving that even in the coldest, most unforgiving corners of the galaxy, the drive of nature to adapt and survive remains entirely unbroken. Chapter 4. The Geonosian Arena, Gladiatorial Beasts. The dry, wind-swept canyons of Geonosis are home to many harsh realities, but none are as famous as the Petronaki Arena. This massive stone structure was not merely built for public execution. It served as a brutal proving ground for some of the most specialized predators in the galaxy. The Geonosian hosts did not rely on native wildlife to entertain the crowds. Instead, they imported exotic beasts from distant star systems, choosing creatures with highly advanced biological weapons. In the dusty heat of the arena, these animals were stripped of their natural environments and forced to rely entirely on their evolutionary adaptations to survive. To truly understand the terror they inspired, we must look closely at the anatomy of the three most famous gladiatorial beasts: the agile Nexu, the massive Reek, and the terrifying Acklay. We begin with the Nexu, a creature of terrifying speed and lethal elegance. The Nexu is native to the chilly, dense forests of the Indona continent on the planet Cholgana. In its natural habitat, this beast is an arboreal predator, meaning it spends almost its entire life high up in the forest canopy. To navigate this vertical world, the Nexu evolved a sleek, muscular body that measures roughly 4.5 meters in length, while standing only about 1 meter tall. Its skeleton is exceptionally light and flexible, allowing it to absorb the impact of massive leaps from branch to branch. The muscles along its limbs are designed for rapid, explosive contraction, giving the Nexu the ability to spring forward with sudden, blinding speed. A closer look at the Nexu's skull reveals a highly specialized array of sensory organs. Most notable are its 4 distinct eyes. While the inner pair of eyes provides standard, high-resolution vision during the daytime, the larger outer pair is tuned to detect infrared light. This thermal vision allows the Nexu to see the heat signatures of warm-blooded prey, such as bark rats and tree-dwelling octopi, even through thick forest leaves or in complete darkness. To support this acrobatic lifestyle, the Nexu possesses a unique split tail. This long appendage divides into two separate, whip-like tips at the end. The tail acts as a powerful gripping tool, allowing the beast to wrap around tree branches for stability or to balance itself perfectly when running along narrow pathways. For offense, the Nexu relies on its exceptionally wide, flat head and a massive mouth filled with rows of curved, needle-sharp teeth. Its jaw can open wider than its own head, allowing it to deliver a devastating bite to large prey. Along its spine, a row of sharp, quill-like spines stands erect. These quills are not just for defense, they can be raised to make the animal look larger and more intimidating to rivals. However, the Nexu has one major biological limitation: its stamina. Because its muscles are designed for short, explosive ambushes, it tires very quickly. If a Nexu cannot secure a kill within the first few moments of an attack, it will rapidly lose strength. To prevent this, the beast uses its long, sharp claws to grip its victim while violently shaking its head to quickly break the prey's neck. While the Nexu represents stealth and agility, the Reek is a monument to pure crushing power. The Reek is a massive, heavily built mammal native to the open, grassy plains of Lycia and the Codian Moon. In its natural state, this beast is a peaceful, slow-moving herbivore. It stands over 2 meters tall and can grow to more than 4 meters in length, with a total weight exceeding 1,000 kilograms. In the wild, Reeks travel in moderate-sized herds, using their massive bodies to protect their young from predators. Their default behavior is calm, and they spend most of their days grazing on tough prairie grasses, which they grind down using specialized, continuously growing cheek teeth. The physical defense of the Reek is centered around its incredibly thick, leathery skin. This skin has a rough, pebbly texture that acts as natural armor, protecting the animal from the sharp thorns of the jungle and the claws of rival predators. The Reek's head is equipped with 3 formidable horns. A single heavy horn curves backward from the center of its snout, while 2 large cheek horns extend forward from the sides of its lower jaw. In the wild, these cheek horns are used primarily for territorial disputes and mating displays. Rival males will lock their cheek horns together in intense pushing contests to prove their dominance without causing fatal injuries. Their short, heavy legs end in wide, blunt claws that provide incredible traction, allowing the Reek to channel its massive weight into a devastating, forward-facing charge. However, the biology of the Reek contains a highly unusual trait. Its skin color and behavior are directly determined by its diet. In the wild, when feeding strictly on vegetation, the Reek's skin remains a natural gray or light brown. When captured for the Geonosian arena, handlers exploit this biology through a process of extreme cruelty. The Reek is starved of plant matter and forced to consume raw meat. This sudden shift to a carnivorous diet triggers a chemical reaction within the beast's endocrine system, causing its skin to flush into a bright, angry red. The meat-based diet also alters the animal's brain chemistry, replacing its naturally peaceful demeanor with a state of constant, painful aggression. The result is a hyper-aggressive, meat-eating brute that charges at any moving target with unstoppable force. The third and most alien creature to walk the arena floor is the Akali. If the Reek is a battering ram and the Nexu is a shadow, the Akali is a living nightmare of chitin and claws. Standing over 3 meters tall, this towering predator is native to the watery plains and misty swamps of the planet Vendaxa. The Akali is a unique evolutionary hybrid, combining the traits of a terrestrial reptile with the hard, protective exoskeleton of an aquatic crustacean. It is fully amphibious, meaning it is just as comfortable swimming through deep ocean currents as it is stalking prey across dry land. The Akali's locomotion is powered by 6 long, jointed legs that raise its body high off the ground, while the 4 rear legs are used for walking. The 2 front limbs are highly modified biological weapons. The tips of these limbs do not have feet. Instead, they end in massive, spear-like claws. These claws are actually highly elongated fingertips sheathed in a dense layer of hardened, leathery skin. Because these spear tips lack any pain receptors, the Akali can strike hard surfaces, rock, or armored prey without feeling any discomfort. When hunting, the Ackley rears up on its hind legs and drives these massive front spears downward with enough force to pierce solid metal, pinning its prey to the ground. To navigate the murky, low-light environments of Vendax's swamps, the Ackley has developed extraordinary sensory equipment. It has 3 small dark eyes that are highly sensitive to movement and can see clearly in near total darkness. However, its most remarkable sensory tool is located beneath its chin. This is a specialized fleshy organ called a silphum. The silphum acts as a biological receiver, allowing the Ackley to detect the subtle electrical fields generated by the nervous systems of other living creatures. Even if a prey animal is hiding completely still, in deep mud or thick fog, the Ackley can sense the beating of its heart and strike with absolute precision. The Ackley's defense is just as impressive as its offense. Protecting its long, vulnerable neck is a massive fan-shaped head crest made of solid bone. This crest acts as a shield against frontal attacks, deflecting strikes that would otherwise target its neck or throat. Beneath this shield, its mouth is lined with rows of sharp, backward-curved teeth, perfect for grasping slippery aquatic prey. When threatened or highly excited, the Ackley forces air through its specialized vocal chambers, emitting a series of high-pitched, bone-chilling shrieks. These screams serve to disorient its prey and warn other predators to stay away from its kill. In the Petranaki arena, these 3 vastly different evolutionary paths were brought together to create a perfect storm of violence. The Geonosians understood the unique biological strengths of each animal. They used the Nexu's infrared vision and acrobatic climbing to hunt down agile targets, the starved Reek's heavy charge to crush heavily armored opponents, and the Ackley's electrical sensing and armor-piercing claws to dominate any battlefield. To the spectators in the stands, these creatures were simply monsters designed for blood sport. But to the xenobiologist, they represent the incredible, terrifying diversity of galactic life, showcasing how different species adapt, weaponize, and survive in a hostile universe. Chapter 5. Void Dwellers. Life in the vacuum of space. The vast, silent void of deep space is often regarded as the ultimate barrier to biological life. To most known species, the vacuum is a cold, pressureless graveyard, instantly fatal to any organism lacking artificial protection. Yet, in the darkest, most desolate corners of the galaxy, life has not merely survived, it has conquered the void. In the asteroid belts, planetary rings, and nebulae where stars cast only faint, freezing light, highly specialized creatures have evolved to call the vacuum their home. These are the void dwellers, organisms that challenge our fundamental understanding of biology. To investigate these creatures is to peek into an evolutionary path entirely separate from the warm, wet worlds that birthed most galactic civilizations. The primary secret to surviving the vacuum lies in biochemistry. Virtually all life on developed planets is carbon-based, relying on liquid water as a solvent and an atmosphere to regulate temperature and pressure. Void dwellers, however, are built on an entirely different foundation. They are silicon-based life forms. Silicon, while chemically similar to carbon in its ability to form complex chains, is far more stable under extreme temperatures and intense cosmic radiation. It does not freeze or boil away in the vacuum. This unique biochemistry allows these creatures to maintain structural integrity without the need for skin pressure or protective atmospheres, turning the hostile environment of space into a viable habitat. Among the most awe-inspiring of these silicon-based organisms is the Exogorth, known colloquially across the galaxy as the space slug. To witness an Exogorth in its natural habitat is to see a creature of truly geological scale. While a typical newly matured Exogorth measures roughly 10 meters in length, their growth is not strictly limited by age. In environments rich in mineral nutrients and free from predators, a space slug can continue to grow indefinitely. Some legendary specimens have been recorded at lengths exceeding 900 meters, possessing a mass that rivals medium-sized capital ships. These gargantuan beasts live in the deep caverns and hollow craters of large asteroids, blending seamlessly into the grey rock. An Exogorth survives in this barren landscape through a combination of physical and chemical adaptations. Lacking limbs, it anchors itself inside asteroid caves using a network of tough, fibrous tendrils that sprout from its lower body. These tendrils do more than just hold the creature in place against the drift of zero gravity. They actively secrete highly acidic compounds that dissolve the surrounding rock, allowing the exogorth to absorb essential minerals and heavy metals directly through its skin. This process of lithotrophy, or rock-eating, provides the basic chemical elements the space slug needs to sustain its massive silicon body. Yet, minerals alone cannot fuel a creature of such immense size. The exogorth is also an active predator, possessing a highly developed sense of spatial awareness. Despite living in the pitch-black darkness of asteroid interiors where eyes are of little use, the space slug can navigate and hunt with terrifying precision. It achieves this through a complex system of electromagnetic sensors embedded along its snout and flanks. These sensors can detect the minute electrical currents of passing starships, the magnetic fields of drifting metal debris, and the biological energy signatures of other void dwellers. When a target draws near, the exogorth can launch itself from its rocky home with surprising speed, using its powerful muscular body to leap across the gap between asteroids. The primary biological prey of the exogorth is another fascinating inhabitant of the vacuum, the Minoc. Minocs are winged, silicon-based parasites that are widely feared by star travelers as persistent and destructive pests. Physically, a Minoc consists of a leathery, flat, delta-winged body about 1 meter in length, dominated by a large, circular sucker-like mouth. Unlike the solitary and slow-moving exogorth, Minocs are highly active and social, traveling through asteroid fields and planetary rings in small, tightly knit flocks. How a winged creature flies in the airless vacuum of space is one of the most intriguing questions in xenobiology. The answer lies in the Minoc's unique wings. Rather than pushing against air to generate lift, a Minoc's wings are highly magnetized. They act as biological solar sails, catching the stellar wind's charged particles and magnetic fields emitted by nearby stars. By adjusting the angle and magnetic charge of their wings, Minocs can literally sail through the vacuum, riding the invisible currents of the cosmos with remarkable agility. This allows them to migrate across vast distances of open space in search of energy. For a Minoc, energy is life. Lacking a traditional digestive system, they do not eat organic food to survive. Instead, they are direct energy parasites. In their natural state, they absorb stellar radiation and cosmic rays through their leathery skin, converting this ambient energy directly into metabolic fuel. However, natural radiation is sparse in the deep reaches of space, and Minocs are constantly on the lookout for richer, more concentrated sources of power. This search inevitably draws them to the artificial warmth and electromagnetic emissions of passing starships. When a ship enters an asteroid field or drops out of hyperspace near a planetary ring, Minocs are drawn to it like moths to a flame. Using their powerful muscular suckers, they latch onto the ship's hull, aligning themselves over external power lines, sensor arrays, and engineering vents. Once attached, they use specialized, mineral-dissolving mouthparts to chew through the outer hull plates and access the raw electricity flowing through the ship's cabling. A flock of Minocs can quickly drain a starship's auxiliary power reserves, leaving unsuspecting crews stranded in the dark. This parasitic behavior creates a unique ecological relationship between the Minoc and the exogorth. Because Minocs are constantly seeking shelter and energy, they frequently seek refuge inside the massive cavernous mouths and digestive tracts of giant exogorths. To a human observer, the interior of a large space slug might look like a damp, toxic cave. But to a flock of Minocs, it is a safe haven from the harsh solar winds. Inside the exogorth, the Minocs feed on the ambient thermal energy and biochemical waste produced by the giant beast's slow metabolism. In return, the exogorth gains a steady, internal source of nourishment, occasionally digesting a few of the parasites when its mineral reserves run low. It is a bizarre, self-contained ecosystem operating entirely within the vacuum of space. Perhaps the most remarkable shared trait of these two void dwellers is their method of reproduction. In the extreme isolation of deep space, finding a mate is a rare and difficult prospect. To overcome this obstacle, both the exogorth and the Minoc have evolved the ability to reproduce asexually through a process known as fission, or biological mitosis. When an individual accumulates enough physical mass and energy, a chemical trigger is activated within its silicon structure. The creature's cells begin to duplicate rapidly, and its body gradually splits down the center, dividing into two separate, fully formed, and self-reliant individuals. This ensures that even a single survivor of either species can repopulate an entire asteroid belt over time. Despite their incredible resilience to the harshest conditions in the galaxy, these void dwellers are not invincible. In fact, their extreme adaptation to the vacuum of space has left them with a surprising and deadly vulnerability. They cannot survive inside a planetary atmosphere. For a Minoc, exposure to common atmospheric gases, particularly helium, is highly toxic. When exposed to an atmosphere, the gases react violently with the silicon compounds in the Minoc's skin, causing the creature to rapidly bloat and explode. This chemical allergy serves as a natural barrier, keeping these destructive parasites confined to the cold, airless reaches of orbit. Similarly, the giant Exogorth is entirely dependent on the low gravity and pressureless environment of asteroid belts. The immense weight of its silicon body, which can easily reach hundreds of thousands of tons, would crush the creature under the gravity of a standard planet. Without the freedom of the vacuum, its highly specialized sensory organs and movement mechanisms would fail, leaving the giant beast helpless. The study of these void dwellers reminds us that the galaxy is a place of endless variety and adaptability. Where we see only cold, empty space, nature sees a vast frontier waiting to be colonized. The giant Exogorth, silently waiting in its rocky cavern, and the agile Minoc riding the solar winds in search of power, are testaments to the incredible ingenuity of evolutionary biology. They show us that life does not merely endure the hardships of the cosmos, it embraces them, turning the silent, deadly vacuum into a thriving theatre of survival. Chapter 6. The Great Migrators, Purrgil and the Hyperlane Trails. For eons, the cold vacuum of the cosmos was thought to be a barrier that no living tissue could survive without mechanical protection. Early spacefarers viewed the deep void as a dead zone, a silent gulf between the stars where only metal hulls and synthetic life could endure. Yet, nature has always found a way to defy our expectations, colonizing even the most hostile environments in the galaxy. Among all the strange and marvelous creatures that drift through the stars, none challenge our understanding of biology and physics quite like the Purrgil. These magnificent, semi-sentient space whales are not merely survivors of the deep void. They are its ultimate masters, possessing the unique and startling ability to travel naturally through the dimension of hyperspace. To understand the Purrgil, one must first look at their remarkable anatomical adaptations. A standard Purrgil is a massive creature, often reaching 30 meters in length, which is roughly the size of a small starship. However, their subspecies, the legendary Purrgil Ultra, can grow to sizes that rival massive capital ships and military cruisers. Their bodies are perfectly streamlined, possessing a torpedo-like shape covered in a thick, smooth skin of a deep bluish-purple hue. This specialized skin is one of their most vital evolutionary shields. It is incredibly tough and dense, acting as a pressurized barrier that prevents the creature's internal fluids from boiling or depressurizing in the vacuum of space. Beneath this outer skin lies a thick layer of dense blubber. This blubber serves a dual purpose. First, it acts as a powerful insulator, shielding the Purrgil's internal organs from the extreme, sub-freezing temperatures of deep space, as well as the intense cosmic radiation that constantly bathes the void. Second, it serves as an energy reserve, storing vital nutrients during long journeys across barren star systems where food is scarce. For propulsion, the Purrgil relies on an array of organic structures. They possess a single dorsal fin and two large side fins that allow them to steer with surprising grace through both the vacuum of space and the upper atmospheres of gaseous planets. At the rear of their bodies, 4 massive muscular tentacles trail behind them. These tentacles can wrap around physical objects with immense strength, a physical trait that has occasionally spelled disaster for unlucky starships that drifted too close to a startled pod. The head of the Purrgil is dominated by a heavy, bulbous, and horizontally flattened shape. On either side of this massive skull rests a single, large eye. These eyes are adapted to perceive a wide spectrum of light, allowing the creatures to navigate the dimness of deep space and the shifting, chaotic colors of hyperspace. Unlike planetary animals that rely on lungs to exchange oxygen, the Purrgil has evolved a highly specialized respiratory and metabolic system designed to process gas directly from the surrounding environment. They do not breathe air in the traditional sense. Instead, they are organic chemical refineries. The primary fuel for a Purrgil's existence, and their most famous trait, is a rare and highly volatile gas known as Cluzon-36. This gas is found naturally within the atmospheres of certain gas giants and dense nebulae. To feed, Purrgil gather in large groups, often called pods, flocks, or swarms, and descend into the upper cloud layers of these worlds. There, they open their cavernous mouths and filter the gas through their internal systems, extracting Cluzon-36 along with other trace elements and small airborne organisms. Inside the Purrgil's body, a remarkable biochemical reaction takes place. The creature's unique digestive organs metabolize the Cluzon-36, synthesizing it into an organic form of hypermatter fuel. This biological fuel is stored in specialized internal chambers. When the Purrgil needs to travel vast distances, it triggers a reaction that allows it to tear through the fabric of real space and enter hyperspace. This process is heralded by a breathtaking visual display. Just before making the jump, the Purrgil's skin and eyes begin to glow with a brilliant, pulsing blue and purple bioluminescence. This glow is the physical manifestation of the hypermatter energy surging through their nervous systems and skin membranes. Once the energy reaches its peak, the Purrgil opens what scientists call a simmer tunnel. This is an organic wormhole, a localized tear in space-time that allows the creature to slip into the hyperspace dimension. To an outside observer, the space whale seems to stretch and vanish into a flash of light, leaving behind nothing but a fading trail of ionized gas. While inside hyperspace, the Purrgil can travel thousands of light-years in a fraction of the time it would take in real space, navigating the complex gravitational currents of the cosmos with an instinctual ease that modern navigation computers can only hope to replicate. This incredible natural ability had a profound effect on the history of galactic civilization. Long before the rise of the Galactic Republic, early sentient species looked up at the stars and witnessed these glowing giants vanishing into the void. By studying the Purrgil and analyzing the traces of energy left behind by their jumps, ancient scientists and explorers were inspired to develop the very first mechanical hyperdrive engines, the basic principles of modern faster-than-light travel, which allow the galaxy to remain connected through trade and communication, are directly derived from the biology of these space-dwelling beasts. Early navigators also mapped the natural migration routes of the Purrgil, using them to chart the very first hyperspace lanes. Ancient Jedi and navigators even created star compasses and wayfinders by studying how these creatures could sense magnetic fields and gravity wells across the stars. Despite their historical importance, the relationship between Purrgil and modern space travelers is highly complicated. To many spacers, cargo pilots, and military commanders, the Purrgil are not majestic wonders of nature, but dangerous pests and navigational hazards. Because Purrgil travel in large pods, they can easily block established shipping lanes. A starship traveling at hyperspace speeds that collides with a migrating flock of Purrgil will suffer catastrophic damage, often resulting in the complete destruction of the vessel and the loss of all lives aboard. Furthermore, Purrgil are completely unaware of artificial starships and will often drift directly into active flight paths near planets and space stations, drawn by the electromagnetic emissions of mechanical engines. This hazard is amplified by their feeding habits. Because they require Cluzon-36 to survive and travel, they are naturally drawn to industrial gas mining operations. Many mining corporations view Cluzon-36 as a waste product or a contaminant to be separated from other valuable gases like Tibanna. When these facilities vent the excess Cluzon-36 into space or store it in large tanks, hungry Purrgil pods will arrive to feed. Their massive bodies can easily damage the delicate structure of mining platforms, leading to tense and often violent standoffs between refinery security teams and the migrating herds. For these reasons, many spacers hold a deep prejudice against the creatures, firing upon them on sight to drive them away from trade routes and space stations. Yet, those who look past the physical dangers discover a species of deep intelligence and social complexity. Purrgil are highly social animals that operate within a strict hierarchy. A typical pod is led by a dominant individual known as a Purrgil king. The king is usually the largest male in the group, distinguished by his weathered skin and immense physical presence. It is the king who determines the direction of the flock, sensing the subtle shifts in the galactic magnetic fields and deciding when and where the group will feed or migrate. The members of the pod communicate through low-frequency vocalizations and pulses of bioluminescent light, coordinating their movements as they glide through the stars. Perhaps the most astonishing aspect of Purrgil behavior is their capacity for empathy and connection with other sentient beings. Though they are classified as semi-sentient, they possess a strong spiritual sensitivity, particularly to those who can connect with the natural energy of the cosmos. Throughout history, there have been rare accounts of individuals establishing a profound mental bond with these creatures. Such bonds allow a person to communicate intentions, calm a frightened pod, or even guide their movements. In times of great conflict, these connections have led to legendary events, such as entire imperial fleets being swept away by a coordinated herd of Purrgil acting in defense of their allies. The migrations of the Purrgil are not limited to a single sector, or even a single galaxy. Recent discoveries have confirmed ancient legends that some pods of Purrgil Ultra embark on immense journeys across the vast, dark void between galaxies. These intergalactic travelers follow ancient, instinctual pathways that bridge the unimaginable distances between different star systems of different galaxies, such as the path leading to the distant and mysterious world of Purrgil. These pathways, carved over millions of years, remind us that the galaxy is not a collection of isolated systems, but a deeply connected ecosystem, where even the empty space between galaxies is a highway for life. The Purrgil remain a symbol of the untamed, ancient mysteries of the universe. They are a living testament to the idea that nature's ingenuity will always outpace technology. As long as there are gas giants to feed on and stars to navigate, these silent, glowing giants will continue their endless journey through the deep currents of hyperspace, guiding the way for those who have the patience and the wisdom to watch them. Chapter 7: Canopy and Undergrowth. The Forest Predators of Endor. The forest moon of Endor, orbiting the massive gas giant Tana, appears from orbit to be a peaceful world of endless green. Its dense forests, vast savannas and deep valleys look calm and inviting. However, beneath the thick green ceiling of the great redwoods lies one of the most active and dangerous ecosystems in the Outer Rim. The planet's light gravity and oxygen-rich air have allowed life to grow to extreme sizes. This environment has produced predators that are perfectly adapted to hunt in the deep shadows and the high branches. For a xenobiologist, studying this world requires great caution. Every layer of the forest, from the highest leaves to the lowest roots, is a place where animals must fight to survive. To understand how these animals hunt, we must first look at the unique structure of the forest. The trees of Endor can grow hundreds of meters tall. This massive growth creates several distinct levels of life, each with its own microclimate and its own dangers. In the upper levels, where sunlight is abundant, flying predators rule. In the middle levels, along the massive tree trunks and branches, climbing animals search for food. Down on the forest floor, in a world of constant shadow and damp earth, heavy predators use stealth and power to find their prey. The constant struggle between these levels creates a highly competitive environment where only the most specialized creatures can survive. At the very top of the food chain, both in size and power, is the Gorax. These massive creatures are classified as semi-sentient behemoths. While they usually make their homes in the high rocky cliffs of the desert of Salma and the Yawari cliffs, they regularly descend into the lower forests to hunt. A fully grown Gorax can stand up to 30 meters tall, a height that makes them look like living mountains compared to the smaller species of the moon. Their bodies are covered in thick, matted fur that varies from dark brown to slate grey, providing excellent protection against both the cold mountain air and the rough branches of the forest. The anatomy of the Gorax is a fascinating study in evolutionary adaptation. Their faces are dominated by heavy, prominent brows and a lower jaw that sticks out, filled with sharp teeth that are highly adapted for tearing meat. Despite their massive size, they possess incredibly sensitive pointed ears. These ears can detect the quietest sounds, such as the rustle of leaves or the soft footsteps of small animals on the forest floor far below. Perhaps the most unusual feature of the Gorax is their feet. Some individuals have been observed with hoof-like structures, while others have long toes with a backward-pointing fourth toe. This strange skeletal structure helps them balance their immense weight when climbing the steep, rocky slopes of their mountain homes. When a Gorax hunts, it relies on its brute strength and surprisingly quiet movement. They often target the arboreal villages of the native Ewoks, reaching into the high platforms to snatch their prey. Because of their immense size, Very few weapons can harm them, and their thick skin easily resists minor attacks. Once they capture their prey, they carry it back to their high mountain caves. Interestingly, these caves host a secondary ecological relationship. Large cave spiders, which are themselves major predators, live at the bottom of the Gorax caves. These spiders survive by scavenging the remains of the food that the giant creatures leave behind, showing how even the most feared predators support other forms of life. While the Gorax dominates through sheer size, the ground level of the forest is ruled by a very different kind of predator. The boar wolf, also known as the borer, is a highly aggressive mammal that hunts in the deep undergrowth. Standing up to 3 meters tall at the shoulder, the boar wolf is a terrifying combination of speed, power, and tracking ability. They have a distinct humped back, a thick hide covered in coarse hair, and a pair of large curved tusks growing from their lower jaw. Their front legs end in massive hooked claws that are strong enough to tear deep holes in the bark of the giant trees. Boar wolves are primarily cursorial predators, meaning they are built for running and chasing down their prey over long distances. Their sense of smell is highly developed, allowing them to track animals through the thick, damp air of the forest floor for kilometers. Once they find a target, they launch a high-speed charge, using their weight and their tusks to knock the prey down. Their hooked claws are not just weapons, they also help the boar wolf climb over fallen logs and navigate the uneven forest floor. They are known to be fearless, often attacking creatures that are much larger than themselves, and their presence keeps the herbivore populations of the forest floor in constant motion. Above the damp forest floor, the skies of Endor are patrolled by the condor dragon, also known as the mantigrue. This large flying reptavian is a master of aerial hunting, with a wingspan of approximately 3 meters. The condor dragon is easily recognized by its red leathery wings and its thick green and gold skin. Bony ridges run along its spine, leading down to 2 powerful clawed legs that are used to grasp prey. Their heads feature a long pointed beak filled with sharp fangs, and their large yellow eyes have incredibly sharp vision, allowing them to spot movement through the dense forest canopy from high above. The hunting style of the condor dragon is both beautiful and terrifying. They launch themselves from high stone cliffs, or the tallest branches of the redwoods, swooping down in a tight spiral pattern. As they attack, they let out a loud, high-pitched screech that can freeze prey with fear. They use their strong hind claws to scoop up small to medium-sized animals, sometimes lifting Ewoks right off the backs of their riding ponies. Interestingly, condor dragons do not like the taste of these ponies, showing a highly specific dietary preference. Instead of eating their catch immediately, they usually carry their prey back alive to their nests, which are built high up on canyon walls, inside deep caves, or on isolated rocky crags. While these large predators rely on strength and speed, other animals on the forest moon use deception to survive. Deep within the hollow logs and tight spaces of the forest floor lives the tempter. This strange reptilian creature is a highly specialized ambush predator. The tempter has a long, eel-like body covered in a thick layer of slippery mucus. This mucus allows it to slide easily into tight crevices and hollow trees where other predators cannot go. To help it stay in place while waiting for prey, the tempter has 6 short limbs equipped with claws that grip the wood or soil tightly. The most remarkable feature of the tempter is its hunting method. It has multiple eyes on its head, giving it excellent vision in the dark undergrowth. However, it does not hunt by chasing its prey. Instead, it stays hidden inside a hollow tree trunk and extends its long, thin tongue. The tip of this tongue is covered in soft fur and looks exactly like a small, harmless forest rodent. The tempter can wiggle and move this lure, making it look alive and vulnerable. When a curious bird, rodent, or even an unwary traveler approaches to investigate or help the small animal, the tempter strikes. With incredible speed, it pulls its tongue back, slides forward on its mucus-covered body, and snaps its powerful jaws shut on the victim. The existence of such diverse and dangerous predators shows the complex balance of the ecosystem on the forest moon. Each predator has found a specific way to hunt and survive in this 3-dimensional world. The Gorax uses its massive size to hunt from the mountains to the high trees. The condor dragon rules the open air above the forest canopy. The boar wolf patrols the dark forest floor, using its speed and scent tracking to find prey. Meanwhile, The tempter waits quietly in the shadows, using clever biological tricks to bring food directly to its mouth. For any traveler or researcher visiting the forest moon of Endor, understanding these animals is a matter of survival. The beautiful green forests are not just a quiet home for peaceful creatures, they are a highly competitive arena where some of the most specialized predators in the galaxy hunt every day. By studying these creatures, we gain a deeper respect for the ways in which life adapts to its environment, finding unique ways to survive and thrive even in the deepest shadows of the forest. Chapter 8: The Shadow Beasts of Korriban and Sith Alchemy. To understand the most terrifying predators in the galaxy, we must look beyond the natural laws of evolution. In the deep, dusty canyons of the Outer Rim lies Korriban, a world of red sand and ancient tombs. On this planet, the natural order was broken long ago. It is a place where science and dark sorcery merged to create living nightmares. This process is known as Sith Alchemy, a highly advanced and dangerous science that alters the DNA of living creatures, filling their bodies with dark energy. Through this unnatural science, ancient masters of the dark side did not just build weapons of metal and plasma, they built weapons of flesh, bone, and instinct. They took normal, peaceful animals and twisted them into monsters designed for war and guardianship. Today we will examine two of the most successful and terrifying results of these ancient experiments: the Toccata, also known as the Sith Hound, and the Shis, the dreaded dark side dragon. Let us first examine the Toccata. If you were to encounter a Toccata in the dark corridors of a tomb, your first instinct would be to run, though running is almost always useless. These creatures are massive, four-legged predators built for speed, strength, and relentless pursuit. Their bodies are covered in tough, leathery skin, and a row of sharp, bony spines runs down their backs all the way to their whip-like tails. Their limbs end in heavy, clawed paws that can grip the stone floors of ancient ruins or climb vertical cliffs with ease. The face of a Toccata is a portrait of pure malice. They have wide jaws filled with rows of needle-sharp teeth, and their eyes glow with an unsettling yellow or red light, a direct physical symptom of the dark side energy flowing through their veins. They are incredibly agile, capable of leaping more than twice their own height to crush their prey from above. However, the most shocking fact about the Toccata is not their physical strength, but their origin. Xenobiologists who have studied ancient records believe that the ancestors of the Toccata were actually gentle, non-violent herbivores. Millions of years ago, they grazed peacefully on the sparse vegetation of their native worlds. They were social, calm, and entirely harmless. When the early Sith arrived on Korriban, they saw these peaceful creatures and decided to change them. Through Sith alchemy, they rewrote the animal's genetic code. They awakened dormant parts of their brains, forcing them to grow sharp horns, long claws, and a taste for meat. The alchemists replaced their peaceful nature with an endless, burning rage. What was once a gentle grazer became the ultimate guardian beast. This genetic rewriting also gave the Toccata an unusual level of intelligence. They are far smarter than ordinary wild beasts. Research shows that they are capable of communicating with each other through complex vocalizations and a shared mental connection. They do not hunt as simple animals. They coordinate their attacks like a highly trained military unit. They can recognize intruders, bypass simple traps, and even wait in ambush for hours without making a single sound. Some historical accounts suggest that the Toccata can even perceive the thoughts and fears of their prey. They use this mental connection to feed on the terror of those who enter their territory, growing stronger and more aggressive as their victims become more afraid. For thousands of years, these hounds have guarded the tombs of the Dark Lords, surviving without food or water by feeding directly on the dark energy that saturates the stone walls around them. The second beast we must examine is the Hissis, often called the dark side dragon. While the Toccata is a mammal-like hound, the Hissis is a cold-blooded reptilian nightmare. These creatures did not actually originate on Korriban. Instead, they first evolved on the swampy world of Ambria. On Ambria, a great battle took place thousands of years ago, and a powerful Jedi Master imprisoned a vast amount of dark side energy beneath the waters of Lake Nath. The local reptiles that lived in and around the lake were exposed to this concentrated dark energy for generations. Over time, the energy seeped into their eggs and altered their bodies. They grew larger, more aggressive, and deeply connected to the dark side. Eventually, space travelers and dark side users discovered these creatures, realized their deadly potential, and transported them across the galaxy, particularly to Korriban, where they thrived in the deep shadows. An adult Hyses is a massive creature, usually measuring about 3 meters in length, with an additional 1-meter tail covered in sharp spikes. Their bodies are low to the ground, similar to the ancient crocodilians of other worlds. Their skin is covered in thick dark green or pitch-black scales that are hard enough to deflect standard blaster bolts and even resist light cuts from a vibroblade. Their eyes are a piercing orange-red, reflecting the dark corruption inside them. The Hyses is a patient, aquatic predator. They prefer to submerge themselves in dark pools of water or hide in the deep shadows of ancient ruins, waiting for an unsuspecting victim to walk by. When they strike, they do so with explosive speed, using their powerful tails to propel themselves forward and their massive jaws to clamp down on their prey. What makes the Hyses truly terrifying, however, is not just their physical bite, but the dark poison they carry. The saliva of a Hyses is thick, black, and highly toxic. But this is not a normal biological poison. It is a supernatural toxin infused with dark side energy. When a Hyses bites or scratches a victim, this poison enters the bloodstream and attacks both the body and the mind. The physical effects are painful and rapid, causing severe inflammation and tissue damage that resists standard medical treatments like Bacta. The mental effects are even worse. The poison forces the victim into a state of extreme, uncontrollable rage and confusion. A person bitten by a Hyses will often lose their ability to think clearly, turning on their friends and companions in a blind, violent frenzy. For Force-sensitive individuals, this poison is especially dangerous, as it can completely disrupt their connection to the Force, making it nearly impossible for them to find peace or heal themselves. Furthermore, the Hyses possesses a unique ability that defies standard physics. They can use the dark side to bend light and sound around their bodies, making themselves completely invisible to both the naked eye and electronic sensors. A traveler might walk into a quiet room in a tomb, believing it to be empty, only to be ambushed by a pack of invisible dragons that reveal themselves only when their teeth sink into flesh. These beasts do not just live in the dark side, they help sustain it. Xenobiologists have observed that wherever a large population of Toccata or Hyses lives, the local environment becomes twisted. The plants wither, the air grows cold, and a heavy feeling of despair settles over the area. They act as living amplifiers for the dark side of the Force. In the study of galactic wildlife, these creatures stand as a warning. They show us what happens when science is stripped of empathy and used to force nature into unnatural shapes. The Toccata and the Hyses are not just predators, they are historical monuments to a dark past, living fossils of a corrupted science that continues to haunt the galaxy to this day. Chapter 9. Beasts of Burden. Domestication across the stars. Across the vast expanse of the galaxy, technology has reached dizzying heights. We travel through hyperspace, build artificial intelligences, and hover above the ground on sophisticated repulsor lifts. Yet, despite these mechanical wonders, there are environments where steel and silicon inevitably fail. In the extreme heat of desert wastes, the rocky passes of mountain ranges, and the high-gravity conditions of distant worlds, technology succumbs to dust, friction, and electromagnetic interference. It is in these unforgiving spaces that sentient cultures have turned back to the natural world. The domestication of native fauna is not merely a primitive stepping stone in a civilization's history. It is a highly evolved, symbiotic strategy that continues to shape galactic transport and warfare. To understand the true strength of galactic expansion, we must study the beasts of burden that carry it on their backs. Among the most resilient and widely distributed of these creatures is the Purrgil. This massive bipedal reptile is native to the harsh desert canyons of Loth, but its utility has led to its introduction on numerous worlds throughout the Outer Rim, from the forest moon of Endor to the arid plains of Arvala 7. Physically, the Purrgil is characterized by its large bulbous skull and a cavernous mouth that occupies a significant portion of its body. Its front limbs are small and almost entirely useless for locomotion, serving primarily to steady the creature when it bends down to feed on tough desert grasses or scrub. The true power of the Purrgil lies in its muscular hind legs. These powerful limbs allow the creature to reach speeds of up to 75 kilometers per hour, a velocity that rivals or even exceeds that of light military repulsor craft and bipedal walkers. From a xenobiological perspective, the Blurg's physiology is built for endurance. Its thick skin, which ranges in color from dull grays and browns to vibrant blues and greens, provides excellent thermal regulation and defense. The species is remarkably hardy, capable of absorbing stray blaster bolts that would instantly disable a mechanical speeder bike. This physical durability, combined with their low center of gravity, makes them ideal mounts for rugged terrain. The indigenous Twi'leks of Ryloth recognized this potential early in their history, integrating the Blurg into their culture as both a farming asset and a formidable weapon. The domestication of the Blurg requires a deep understanding of its behavioral psychology. While they are often dismissed as dim-witted and stubborn, they possess a quiet, steady intelligence and a strong sense of pack loyalty. When wild, they can be highly aggressive, attacking intruders with bone-crushing bites. However, once a rider establishes dominance, a Blurg becomes remarkably docile and fiercely loyal. Interestingly, xenobiologists have noted that Blurgs are highly sensitive to sound. They naturally follow rhythmic acoustic patterns, a trait that herders and riders exploit. By using specific musical tones or rhythmic calls, handlers can guide entire herds of Blurgs across vast distances without the need for physical restraints. This cooperative nature made the Blurg an invaluable asset in times of conflict. During the Clone Wars and the subsequent Imperial occupation of Ryloth, the Free Twi'lek movement utilized Blurg cavalry to devastating effect. Against the mechanical, predictable movements of the Separatist droid army and the heavy armor of the Galactic Empire, the organic agility of the Blurg offered a distinct tactical advantage. Twi'lek riders could navigate treacherous, narrow canyons that would crash a speeder or trap a heavy tank. The creatures could leap over obstacles, scale steep inclines, and execute sudden, sharp turns that defied mechanical engineering. Furthermore, the silent approach of a Blurg mount allowed for surprise guerrilla attacks, cementing this humble reptile's place in the military history of the Outer Rim. While the Blurg excels in speed and agility in rocky terrain, the endless shifting sands of desert worlds require a different set of evolutionary adaptations. On the twin-sunned world of Tatooine, no creature is more synonymous with survival and heavy transport than the dewback. Growing up to 5 meters in length and standing 2 meters high, this lumbering quadrupedal reptile is a marvel of desert survival. The dewback's name is derived from its unique habit of licking the morning moisture that condenses on its own scaly back during the cool desert nights. Its thick hide, covered in overlapping hexagonal scales, is designed to withstand both the blistering heat of the day and the freezing temperatures of the night. The dewback's internal physiology is highly specialized for water conservation. It can store immense quantities of water within its tissues, consuming it gradually over days of travel through the deep desert. When the temperature drops after twilight, the dewback enters a state of mild torpor. Its metabolism slows dramatically, and it remains nearly motionless to conserve precious body heat. This energy-saving strategy allows it to survive in barren landscapes where food and water are scarce. Its keen sense of smell, guided by nostrils larger than its eyes, allows it to locate deep-running water sources and buried vegetation, as well as small desert prey like scurriers and womp rats. For the moisture farmers, merchants, and indigenous Jawas of Tatooine, the dewback is an indispensable partner. Mechanical transports on Tatooine are constantly plagued by the fine, abrasive desert sand, which penetrates engine seals and ruins repulsor coils. The dewback, however, is immune to these mechanical failures. It plods tirelessly through the dunes, carrying massive loads of cargo, pulling heavy plows, and transporting pod racer parts to starting grids. Its flat, clawed feet distribute its massive weight evenly across the loose sand, preventing it from sinking where wheeled or tracked vehicles would stall. Despite their gentle and docile nature under normal conditions, dewbacks possess an untamed wild instinct that handlers must respect. Once a year, wild dewbacks feel an irresistible urge to migrate to the treacherous Jundland wastes for their mating season. Domesticated dewbacks experience this same instinct, and if their owners attempt to restrain them, the usually calm beasts become highly aggressive and destructive. Experienced beastmasters know to release their herds during this time. Remarkably, after the mating rituals are complete and the females have buried their large clutches of eggs in the warm sand, the domesticated dewbacks almost always return to their masters' farms on their own. The military utility of the dewback was recognized by the Galactic Empire, which established specialized sand trooper units equipped with these beasts. Ridden by Imperial dewback troopers, the creatures served as stable patrol platforms in the harsh desert terrain. The Empire utilized the dewback's sheer physical mass to batter down barricades and clear pathways in congested settlements like Mos Eisley. While the Empire often used shock prods to force compliance, the most effective handlers relied on the creature's natural compliance and steady temperament. Attempts by corporations like Serka to genetically engineer a larger, highly aggressive war dewback ended in disaster, proving that the natural, unmutated biology of the species remains far superior to artificial manipulation. In stark contrast to the rugged, heavy-set reptiles of the desert, the Fathia represents the pinnacle of mammalian speed and elegance. Found on various worlds across the galaxy, the Fathia is a tall, slender quadruped standing roughly 3 meters high at the shoulder. With its long, powerful legs, rich brown fur, and expressive face, the Fathia resembles an equine creature, but its evolutionary adaptations are uniquely suited for high-speed endurance across incredibly diverse and challenging terrains. The most striking anatomical feature of the Fathia is its oversized wing-like ears. While they certainly provide the creature with acute hearing, their primary biological function is thermoregulation. Running at speeds of up to 75 km per hour generates an immense amount of internal body heat. The thin skin and dense network of blood vessels in the Fathia's ears act as highly efficient radiators, dissipating excess heat into the air as the animal runs. This allows the Fathia to maintain its rapid pace for extended periods without risking heat stroke or muscle failure. Additionally, their feet end in two-toed hardened hooves that provide exceptional traction on surfaces ranging from soft, sandy beaches to vertical, rocky cliff faces. Unfortunately, the Fathia's incredible physical capabilities and majestic appearance have made it a prime target for exploitation by the galaxy's wealthy elite. On the casino world of Cantonica, in the opulent city of Canto Bight, Fathias are bred and trained for high-stakes racing. Here, their natural grace is commodified, and the animals often lead lives of severe confinement and abuse. Because they are highly active creatures with a rapid metabolism, being kept in cramped high-tech stables causes them immense physical and psychological stress. To maintain their conditioning in these confined environments, trainers often force them to exercise in double gravity chambers, a brutal practice that pushes their muscular skeletal frames to the absolute limit. Yet, beyond the cruel racetracks of the corporate sector, the Fathia has also played a crucial role in the history of galactic conflict. During the Galactic Civil War, the Alliance to Restore the Republic recognized the tactical value of these swift quadrupeds. In deep cover missions and hit-and-run operations, rebel forces often employed mercenaries, such as those of the Tognath species, who rode Fathias into battle. In heavily forested or mountainous sectors where Imperial sensors could easily detect the energy signatures of repulsor-lift vehicles or low-flying starfighters, the organic, silent movement of the Fathia was invaluable. A strike team mounted on Fathias could cover vast distances overnight, scale seemingly impassable cliffs, and strike Imperial outposts before disappearing back into the wilderness. Whether navigating the burning dunes of Tatooine on a dewback, charging through the rocky canyons of Ryloth on a blurrg, or racing across the steep cliffs of a distant world on a Fathia, the relationship between sentient species and these magnificent beasts of burden remains a cornerstone of galactic survival. While technology continues to evolve, the millions of years of natural selection that shaped these creatures cannot be easily replicated by machines. They are a testament to the enduring power of biology, offering strength, speed, and loyalty in the face of the galaxy's most hostile environments. As xenobiologists, we do not merely study these creatures to categorize them. We study them to understand the delicate, unbreakable bonds that connect all living things across the stars. Chapter 10. The Force-Sensitive Fauna, Ysalamiri and Vornskrs. Deep within the inner rim of the galaxy lies the forest planet of Murrgil, a world shrouded in relative obscurity but home to one of the most remarkable evolutionary battlegrounds in known space. On this world, the dense canopy of metal-rich trees blocks standard electronic sensors, creating an environment where technology often fails and biological adaptations must reign supreme. In this quiet, shaded wilderness, nature has produced a relationship between predator and prey that transcends the physical realm. Here, survival is not merely a matter of speed, camouflage, or strength. On Murrgil, The struggle for life is fought through the unseen energy field that binds the galaxy together, the Force. To understand this unique ecosystem, we must first look at the apex predator of these forests, a creature known as the Vornskr. The Vornskr is a wild quadrupedal beast with a lean muscular build and canine features. It stands under a meter tall at the shoulder, with long, powerful legs tipped with sharp claws designed for tearing through thick undergrowth and scaling low branches. Its jaw is lined with sharp fangs, and its body is covered in a coarse coat of dark fur, allowing it to blend seamlessly into the shadows of the forest floor. Yet, the Vornskr's most distinctive physical weapon is its long, whip-like tail. This tail is highly flexible and tipped with sharp, venomous spines. During a hunt, a Vornskr will use its tail to deliver a rapid, stinging strike to its target. The mild poison injected by these spines acts quickly, causing temporary paralysis and leaving the prey completely helpless before the predator moves in to deliver the final, lethal bite. Vornskrs are primarily nocturnal hunters, traveling in small packs to track down their meals under the cover of darkness, though hunger can occasionally drive them to hunt during the daylight hours as well. While these physical traits make the Vornskr a fearsome hunter, its most extraordinary tool is sensory. The Vornskr possesses an innate biological sensitivity to the Force. It does not navigate the pitch-black forests of Myrka using sight or sound alone. Instead, it senses the flow of life energy within other living things, tracking the subtle ripples they create in the Force. To a Vornskr, a living creature is not just a shape in the dark. It is a bright, radiating beacon of energy. This unique sensory adaptation allows the pack to coordinate attacks with terrifying precision, sensing the exact location and emotional state of their target from great distances. However, the laws of evolution dictate that for every deadly predator, nature will eventually forge a defense. The primary prey of the Vornskr is a small, slow-moving arboreal reptile called the Ysalamiri. The Ysalamiri is a lizard-like creature, typically growing no larger than 50 centimeters in length. Physically, it is fragile and ill-equipped for combat. It resembles a legged serpent covered in a thin, sparse coat of hair. Its limbs are short, and its claws are specially adapted to lock tightly onto the branches of Myrka's native trees, establishing a semi-permanent symbiotic connection with the plant life. Once an Ysalamiri secures itself to a branch, it rarely moves, drawing nutrients and moisture from the tree itself. Against a fast, venomous predator like the Vornskr, a slow, immobile lizard should have faced extinction long ago. Yet the Ysalamiri survives by employing a defensive mechanism that is entirely unique in the galactic catalogue. To hide from a predator that hunts using the Force, the Ysalamiri has evolved the ability to push back the Force itself. A single Ysalamiri can project a localized bubble of energy that suppresses the Force within its boundaries. Inside this bubble, which typically extends in a radius of up to 10 meters, the natural flow of the Force is jammed or pushed aside. To anyone standing within this zone, the mystical energy field seems to vanish entirely, making it impossible to manipulate or sense. When multiple Ysalamiri gather in close proximity, their individual bubbles merge and expand exponentially, creating vast areas of the forest where the Force is completely quiet. This biological defense is a direct and elegant counter to the Vornskr's tracking abilities. When a Vornskr approaches an Ysalamiri, it suddenly loses its primary sensory guide. As the predator enters the edge of the bubble, the vibrant beacon of life energy it was tracking is replaced by a cold, empty void. Without its Force sensory map, the Vornskr is forced to rely on its standard physical senses, such as sight and smell, which are severely limited by the dark, dense foliage and the metallic interference of Myrka's trees. The sessile Ysalamiri, remaining perfectly still and silent on its branch, becomes practically invisible to the hunter. This evolutionary arms race has created a delicate balance of survival on Myrka. Because the Ysalamiri's defense is so effective, Vornskrs must hunt with immense patience, searching for any break in the defensive bubbles or tracking other, less protected species that inhabit the forest floor. This relationship has also led to a fascinating biological quirk in the Vornskr's behavior. Because their entire predatory drive is wired to seek out the unique signature of the Force, they are intensely attracted to any source of concentrated Force energy. When a Force-sensitive individual, such as a Jedi or a Sith, sets foot on Myrka, the local Vornskrs react with immediate and intense aggression. To the wild beasts, the powerful presence of a Force user feels almost identical to their natural prey, but on a much grander scale. The presence of a Force-sensitive individual can throw a local pack into a state of extreme agitation, driving them to hunt with a relentless, single-minded focus that cannot be broken. They will pursue the individual through the forest, mistaking them for a massive, highly concentrated source of sustenance. Over the centuries, travelers, smugglers, and researchers have attempted to interact with and even domesticate these two extraordinary species, with varying degrees of success. The Vornskr, despite its wild and vicious nature, has occasionally been trained as a guard animal or a tracker by various factions across the galaxy. However, keeping a Vornskr is an incredibly dangerous task. Even specimens raised from infancy and captivity retain their aggressive instincts, and their hostility toward Force users can never be fully trained away. Xenobiologists and handlers eventually discovered a curious physiological detail regarding these predators. If a Vornskr's whip-like tail is surgically removed, the animal experiences a significant drop in its natural hunting aggression. This procedure, while robbing the creature of its primary physical weapon and its paralyzing venom, makes the beast far more manageable and cooperative. Though it remains a formidable guard animal, the Ysalamiri, on the other hand, presents an entirely different set of challenges for those wishing to study or utilize them. Because of their deep symbiotic bond with the trees of Mirka, removing an Ysalamiri from its branch is typically fatal to the creature. Without the constant flow of nutrients from the native flora, the lizard will quickly wither and die, and its defensive force bubble will collapse. Despite this difficulty, brilliant and ruthless minds in galactic history have managed to bypass this biological limitation. Engineers have successfully designed specialized, portable nutrient frames. These frames consist of a network of pipes that supply the necessary chemical compounds directly to the Ysalamiri, mimicking the life-sustaining properties of its home tree. By securing the creatures to these mobile rigs, individuals can transport them off-world, carrying a personal defensive bubble of force-empty space wherever they go. This technology has proven to be of immense strategic value, particularly to military leaders and tacticians who have had to face the formidable power of Jedi or other force-wielding adversaries. By surrounding themselves with a network of Ysalamiri, a non-sensitive individual can completely strip a Jedi of their supernatural advantages, reducing the combat to a test of pure physical skill and conventional weaponry. Yet in the wild, away from the complex designs of galactic warlords and scientists, the Ysalamiri and the Vornskr remain locked in their eternal, quiet struggle beneath the dark canopy of Mirka. They represent a profound truth of the cosmos, that life will always find a way to adapt to its surroundings, even when those surroundings are defined by the very energy that flows through all living things. As the Vornskr stalks through the shadows, listening to the silent whispers of the Force, and the Ysalamiri clings to its branch, projecting its quiet shield of absolute stillness, they remind us of the incredible diversity and resilience of the galactic wilderness. Chapter 11. Swamp Stalkers of Dagobah and Mimban. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, not all worlds are defined by gleaming cities or dry deserts. Some of the most complex and dangerous ecosystems exist in the wet, humid, and dark corners of the Outer Rim and the Expansion region. Swamps and bogs are often dismissed as simple wasteland, but to a xenobiologist, they represent some of the most active and highly evolved environments in existence. Here, life does not merely survive, it adapts with terrifying efficiency. Two planets stand out as the ultimate examples of these wet ecosystems: the untouched, primeval world of Dagobah and the scarred, muddy world of Mimban. While one is a natural sanctuary and the other has been torn apart by war, both are home to unique predators that have mastered the art of hunting in the dark shadows. Dagobah is a world untouched by modern technology, a planet of dense forests, endless lagoons, and shallow marshes. It is a place where the air is thick with moisture and the ground is a shifting mix of mud and decay. In this environment, the food chain is highly active, and the line between predator and prey is incredibly thin. The most feared creature in these murky waters is the dragon snake. This massive reptile is a master of the watery depths, capable of growing to immense sizes. The dragon snake has a long, muscular body that allows it to glide effortlessly through the thick mud and tangled roots of the swamp. Its skin is covered in heavy, dark scales that provide excellent camouflage in the black water, making it nearly invisible from the surface. The anatomy of the dragon snake is perfectly tuned for life in the lagoon. Along its back, it features razor-sharp fins that can cut through thick underwater vegetation and even slice open prey. Its head is broad and powerful, equipped with a wide jaw filled with rows of sharp, backward-pointing teeth. These teeth are designed to grip slippery aquatic prey and prevent them from escaping. The dragon snake is primarily an ambush predator. It will lie perfectly still at the bottom of a shallow pool or under a patch of floating weeds, waiting for hours. It uses sensitive organs along its snout to detect the tiny vibrations made by nearby creatures. When a target gets close enough, the dragon snake strikes with explosive speed, wrapping its long body around the victim like a constrictor, or dragging it down into the dark water to drown. While the dragon snake is a highly efficient hunter, it is also known to be an omnivore, consuming both plant matter and meat depending on what is available. This adaptability is key to its survival on a world like Dagobah, where resources can change quickly. The creature is also incredibly territorial, and it will attack anything that enters its chosen stretch of water. There are famous accounts of these beasts attacking modern equipment, including small starfighters and droids that have crashed into the swamps. The dragon snake has even been known to swallow smaller droids whole, only to spit them out later when it realizes they are not organic food. This behavior demonstrates both the creature's aggressive nature and its role as the undisputed king of the Dagobah wetlands. Looking up from the dark waters of Dagobah, the canopy of the swamp is filled with another type of danger. The bogwing is a flying reptavian that makes its home in the high branches of the gnarl trees. A reptavian is a creature that shares characteristics of both reptiles and birds, and the bogwing is a perfect example of this evolutionary path. It has leathery wings that allow it to navigate the tight spaces between thick trees, and sharp talons that can grip branches or seize prey. Bogwings are highly territorial and will viciously defend their nesting areas from any intruders, including other flying creatures and curious travelers. The bogwing is a surprisingly strong creature for its size. Xenobiologists have documented that a healthy adult bogwing can lift and carry objects up to 9 times its own weight. This incredible physical strength allows them to swoop down, grab sizable swamp rodents or small fish from the surface of the water, and carry them back up into the safety of the trees. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the bogwing is its method of reproduction. Unlike most reptiles, bogwings do not lay eggs. Instead, they give birth to live young. Because bogwings spend almost their entire lives in the air or high in the branches, this live birth presents a unique challenge. The mother gives birth while in flight, and the newborn bogwing is forced to learn how to use its wings immediately during its free fall toward the forest floor. Those that fail to catch the air and fly are quickly claimed by the predators waiting in the mud below. Among the smaller and less aggressive creatures of Dagobah is the Nuge. This small green-skinned lizard is commonly found in the moist caves and lower branches of the swamp. At first glance, the Nuge looks like a typical reptile, but it possesses several unique adaptations that make it highly successful in this environment. It has a very docile nature, preferring to avoid conflict whenever possible. However, if a predator or an outsider gets too close, the Nuge has a specific defense mechanism. It will hiss loudly and partially inflate its body, making itself look much larger and more threatening than it actually is. The most intriguing characteristic of the Nuge is its sensitivity to the surrounding environment, specifically to force energy. Xenobiologists have observed that these small lizards are drawn to areas that are rich in the force. They will gather and bask in the aura of places that have a strong spiritual presence, much like a typical lizard would bask in the warmth of the sun. On Dagobah, they are frequently seen near locations like the Cave of Evil, a place deeply connected to the dark side. The Nuge's ability to sense and respond to these unseen energies suggests a deeper connection between the wildlife of Dagobah and the planet's unique natural balance. Moving away from the natural sanctuary of Dagobah, we find a very different kind of swamp world in the expansion region. Mimban is a planet of constant rain, thick fog, and deep, cold mud. Unlike Dagobah, Mimban has been heavily altered by outside forces. Decades of intensive mining operations by the Galactic Empire and local factions have scarred the landscape, clearing vast rainforests and leaving behind endless plains of thick grey mud. The atmosphere is highly ionized, causing frequent electrical storms that keep the sky perpetually dark and cloudy. This harsh, wet and cold environment is incredibly difficult to navigate, yet it supports several highly dangerous creatures that have adapted to the mud. The most terrifying creature of the Mimbanese mud is the Wandrella. The Wandrella is a massive burrowing worm that can grow between 10 and 15 meters in length. It has a thick, cream-colored skin with brown stripes that helps it blend into the muddy terrain, and its body is covered in a tough, armored belly. The Wandrella's skin is also slightly bioluminescent, glowing faintly in the pitch-black underground tunnels and foggy surface plains of Mimban. It has a cluster of primitive eyes on its blunt head, but it relies mostly on vibrations to navigate. The Wandrella has a very simple nervous system, which means it lacks fear and is driven almost entirely by hunger. When it detects movement on the surface, it charges straight toward the source, sliding on its armored belly with surprising speed. It is a force of pure destruction, crushing plants, rocks, and even military vehicles under its immense weight. Because the mud of Mimban is so deep and thick, many creatures get stuck and become easy prey for the Wandrella. The beast simply plows through the mud, swallowing its victims whole. Its thick, tough hide protects it from the acidic qualities of the swamp and the weapons of unwary soldiers who find themselves trapped on this miserable world. Another dangerous reptile found on Mimban is the Hissis, also known as the dark side dragon. Though not native to Mimban, these 3-meter-long lizards have thrived in the planet's dark, muddy depths. The Hissis is covered in dark green scales and has a long tail lined with sharp spikes that run all the way up its back to its neck. It is a highly aggressive predator, but what makes it truly terrifying is its connection to the dark side of the Force. The Hissis has the unique ability to influence the minds of Force-sensitive individuals nearby, causing fear and confusion. If a Hiss manages to bite a victim, the wound is infected with a highly toxic dark side poison. This poison is incredibly difficult to cure and can cause severe illness or death, unless treated with advanced medical care or deep Jedi healing techniques. Furthermore, the Hiss can suppress the abilities of those who use the Force, making it a highly effective guardian for ancient ruins or dark, forgotten places. Their presence on Mimban, especially near ancient temples and deep caves, adds a layer of supernatural danger to an already hostile world. In conclusion, the wet, humid ecosystems of Dagobah and Mimban demonstrate the incredible diversity and adaptability of galactic wildlife. Whether it is the patient, underwater ambush of the dragon snake, the territorial, high-flying strength of the bogwing, the quiet, force-sensitive life of the nudge, or the unstoppable mud-ploughing charge of the Wandrella, these creatures have all found ways to master their difficult environments. They remind us that even in the darkest, muddiest, and most forgotten corners of the galaxy, life will always find a way to adapt, hunt, and survive. Chapter 12. The Loth-Wolf. Myth, Legend, and Reality. On the outer edges of the Outer Rim lies the planet Lothal, a world of vast, wind-swept grasslands, jagged rock spires, and a quiet, ancient energy. To the casual traveller, Lothal appears to be a simple agricultural world, dominated by endless plains of Jogan fruit farms and dry savannas. But beneath this modest exterior lies a deep planetary mystery. Long before the Galactic Empire arrived to scar the landscape with heavy industry and mining, Lothal was known to the Jedi Order as a powerful vergence in the Force. It is a place where the physical world and the spiritual world exist in close harmony, separated by only the thinnest of barriers. To study the wildlife of this planet is to study how life itself adapts not just to climate and terrain, but to the invisible currents of cosmic energy. Among all the creatures that have evolved in this unique environment, none are as enigmatic, feared, or revered as the Loth-Wolf. For centuries, modern galactic science classified these magnificent creatures as mere myths. They were thought to be extinct, existing only in the fading memories of Lothal's oldest families and the ancient cave paintings hidden deep within the planet's northern mountains. Imperial scientists, focused solely on resource extraction, dismissed them as fairy tales told by superstitious locals. Yet, as xenobiologists have since discovered, the Loth-Wolf is very real. It is the undisputed apex predator of Lothal, a creature whose biological reality is inextricably linked to the deepest mysteries of the Force. To understand the Loth-Wolf, we must first examine its physical form, which is as imposing as it is beautiful. A mature Loth-wolf is a canine predator of immense proportions. Standing far taller than a human, they possess a muscular, heavy-set frame designed for both explosive power and incredible endurance. Their dense fur generally displays solid, striking coloration, ranging from a ghostly, pure white to a deep, midnight black, with some individuals showing earthy shades of grey. This thick coat provides excellent camouflage in the tall, pale grasses of the plains and the deep shadows of the mountain clefts. Their paws are broad and padded, allowing them to move with an eerie, near-silent grace despite weighing hundreds of kilograms. Anatomically, they are built for the hunt. Their elongated jaws house a formidable array of sharp, crushing teeth, capable of bringing down the largest herbivores on the planet. Their eyes, often burning with an intense, intelligent glow, possess highly advanced night vision, adapted for hunting under Lothal's twin moons. Their olfactory senses are equally remarkable, capable of tracking prey across vast distances through the shifting winds of the savannas. Yet, any standard biological dissection or scans of their neural pathways would fail to capture the true nature of their sensory capabilities. The Loth-wolf does not merely navigate by sight, sound, or smell. It perceives the universe through an entirely different spectrum. Xenobiologists who have studied the remnant records of Lothal's indigenous populations believe that the Loth-wolf's neural network is uniquely attuned to the planetary magnetic fields and the local flow of the Force. This connection grants them an awareness that borders on prescience. They can sense changes in the planetary environment long before they manifest physically, anticipating storms, seismic shifts, and even the arrival of off-world vessels. This heightened sensory state explains their uncanny hunting efficiency. A pack of Loth-wolves operates with a level of coordination that seems almost telepathic, moving in perfect unison to corner prey without ever making a sound. Perhaps the most astonishing physiological characteristic of the Loth-wolf is its vocal apparatus. Unlike typical wild canines that communicate solely through growls, barks, and howls, the Loth-wolf possesses a highly complex vocal tract. On rare occasions, they have been documented producing sounds that mimic the speech patterns of sentient species, specifically galactic basic. When they do speak, the sound is deep, guttural, and heavily accented with a low, vibrating growl. This indicates a level of cognitive development and linguistic understanding that challenges the traditional boundaries between non-sentient beasts and sentient species. They do not speak to communicate basic physical needs, but rather to convey messages of profound importance, often acting as messengers for the planet itself. The behavior of the Loth-wolf is deeply tied to the concept of territory, but not in the way we typically understand it. While a standard predator claims a physical territory to secure food and breeding grounds, the Loth-wolf's territory is the spiritual integrity of Lothal. They are the self-appointed guardians of the planet's light side vergence. When the ecosystem is healthy and in balance, the wolves remain largely invisible, retreating into the deep wilderness and avoiding contact with humanoid settlements. They live in small, tightly knit packs, maintaining a natural equilibrium with other local species, such as the smaller, more common Loth cats. However, when the balance of the planet is threatened, the behavior of the Loth-wolf shifts dramatically. During the years of the Imperial occupation, when the Empire built massive factories, polluted the atmosphere, and strip-mined the surface for kyber crystals and metals, the Loth-wolves reappeared. They did not wage a standard territorial war against the invaders. Instead, they targeted specific high-value Imperial assets and assisted those who fought to protect the planet. Their actions were deliberate, calculated, and deeply purposeful. They showed a clear understanding of galactic politics and technology, neutralizing patrol units and guiding resistance fighters through hidden pathways. This brings us to the most extraordinary and scientifically baffling ability of the Loth-wolf, their method of spatial translation. For generations, stories persisted of giant wolves appearing out of nowhere and vanishing into thin air. Modern research has revealed that this is not a trick of the light or a hallucination. The Loth-wolves possess the unique ability to mystically traverse great distances across their homeworld in a matter of seconds. They do this by entering the deep cave systems of Lothal, which are rich in natural mineral deposits that conduct the planet's force energy. By entering these caves, or even by stepping into deep shadows on the surface, the wolves can slip into a pocket dimension, a realm of pathways that connects different points on the planet's surface. Some ancient texts suggest this network is connected to the legendary world between worlds, a mystical dimension that spans space and time. To a human observer, a Loth-wolf can step into a cave on the northern hemisphere and emerge moments later on the southern hemisphere, bringing riders safely along with them. The physical toll of this travel on non-force-sensitive individuals is severe, often causing deep disorientation and temporary loss of consciousness. Yet the wolves navigate these pathways with effortless ease. From a xenobiological perspective, this ability represents an incredible evolutionary adaptation. The Loth-wolf has essentially bypassed the limitations of physical travel by utilizing the planetary vergence as a biological transit system. This makes them virtually impossible to capture or contain. During the Imperial occupation, the Empire attempted to hunt and study these creatures, viewing them as a threat to their industrial operations. However, every trap laid for the wolves failed. The creatures would simply vanish before they could be cornered, leaving behind nothing but empty air and baffled Imperial scout troopers. The relationship between the Loth-wolf and the humanoid inhabitants of Lothal is one of mutual respect and ancient pacts. Ancient paintings found in the ruins of the Lothal Jedi Temple depict early settlers riding alongside the wolves, suggesting a deep partnership that predates recorded galactic history. The wolves do not offer their trust easily. They are highly selective, choosing to reveal themselves only to those who possess a strong connection to the Force and whose intentions align with the preservation of the planet's natural state. To earn the favor of a Loth-wolf is to earn the favor of Lothal itself. When we look at the Loth-wolf, we are forced to re-examine our understanding of biology and the natural world. In a galaxy filled with advanced technology, hyperdrives, and mechanical wonders, the Loth-wolf stands as a powerful reminder of the primal forces that bind all living things together. They are not merely beasts to be categorized, nor are they supernatural deities to be feared blindly. They are a highly specialized, sentient adjacent species that has evolved to live in perfect symbiosis with the living energy of their homeworld. As the galaxy continues to rebuild and explore, the story of the Loth-wolf serves as a vital lesson for future generations of xenobiologists. It teaches us that to truly understand the creatures of the cosmos, we must look beyond their physical traits, their bones, and their hunting habits. We must also listen to the silent currents of the environments they inhabit. The Loth-wolf remains a beautiful, wild, and untamed mystery, running free across the grassy plains of Lothal, forever guarding the delicate balance of their ancient world.